Blazing Saddles hit theaters in February 1974 and immediately tore up the Western rulebook. It redefined what a comedy could say, testing exactly how far a movie could push its audience. 52 years later, the stories of the cast who made it happen are just as wild as the movie. Here as the movie. First up is Cleavon Little as Bart, the sharp-witted new black sheriff of Rock Ridge. His cool wit and refusal to back down from a hateful town made him one of the most quietly revolting heroes in 1970s, only 34 during filming. Joining the cast with a 1970 Tony Award for his starring role in the Broadway musical Pearly. That stage background gave his film work a sharp, technical foundation that most screen comedians simply lacked. Jumping from a Broadway stage to a dusty Western set was huge, but he handled it with total. Off camera, he married a few times and had a daughter named Audia. He kept his private life out of headlines. Sadly, after this film, the massive Hollywood career he deserved never fully materialized. It was a glaring gap between talent and opportunity that the industry never quite explained. Cleavon Little passed away on October 22, 1992, dying of colon cancer at 53. It was a quiet end for a man who gave us an absolute masterpiece. Second is Gene Wilder as Jim, the Waco Kid. He is the fastest gun in the West, even if his hands shake too much to hold a drink. Yet, his bond with Bart becomes the emotional heart beneath all the on-screen madness. Born Jerry Silberman, he was 40 during filming and brought a strange, gentle magic to the character the nays could match. He mixed a deep, quiet sadness with wild comic timing, making Jim feel like a real guy who wandered a Brooks set and just stayed. His private life included 4 marriages, ending with Karen Webb in 1991, which came after he had lost his third wife, Gilda Radner, to ovarian cancer in 1989. He spoke openly about that grief for the ref. Years later, Young Frankenstein hit theaters the very same year, delivering both of those massive comedies. Hug comments. The creator had a point few actors have ever touched. He eventually stepped away from the cameras to write novels and children's books. Gene Wilder passed away on August 29, 2016, at 83 years old. Number 3 is Harvey Korman as Hedley Lamar, the wonderfully arrogant villain whose explosive rage at being called Hetty instead of Hedley got funnier every single time he corrected someone. He was 46 during filming, already a massive star on television, thanks to his legendary run on The Carol Burnett Show, a weekly that had been sharpest and sharpest since 1967. Brilliant dynamic between his character and Mel Brooks. Governor operated on a freaky of pure mutual trust, baking every single scene. They shared an absolute riot. His first marriage to Donna Credit from 1960 to 1977 brought 2 children, and he later wed Cresta A2, staying together until his death. The Carol Burnett Show reunions he took part in over the next few decades only proved that the public's deep and genuine affection for him never faded, no matter how much time slipped by. Harvey Korman passed away on May 29, 2008, at 81. Number 4. We have Carol Arthur as Harriet Johnson, one of the eccentric local townsfolk. Her presence brought a sweet, domestic warmth to those scenes, making the surrounding wild comedy feel in real human behavior. Around 38 during filming, she was already deeply familiar with this wild comedy world to legendary actory and dues. Their loving partnership began in 1965 and lasted until he passed in 2009, spanning over 4 decades of a shared life. They raised 3 sons, Peter, Michael, and David DeLuz. All 3 boys eventually carved out their own highly successful paths in the entertainment industry, making theirs one of the most quietly successful family legacies connected to this entire cast. She chose her screen roles carefully in the years around this movie, reflecting an actress whose connection to the industry was built on family as much as her own personal career. Carol Arthur passed away on August 4, 2018, at 83, right on her birthday. It felt like a coincidence way too cinematic for someone who spent her life around storytellers. Up next is Slim Pickens Slikens as Taggart, the drawling, morally uncomplicated ranch foreman whose eagerness for executing awful plans made him one of the film's most consistently funny characters, without ever needing to do anything more complicated. absolute full volume. Born Louis Burton Lindley Jr., he was 54 during filming, having spent decades as a real rodeo performer before Hollywood realized his raw physicality and exactly countless casting directors wanted. His most famous scene before Blazing Saddles came 10 years earlier in Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Glove, where he rode a nuclear bomb all the way down with the easy confidence of a guy who never second-guessed a single choice in life. He married Margaret Ellis in 1949, raising a family and building a quiet life that was career. Slim Pickens passed away on December 8, 1983 at 64, leaving behind a so totally unique that the Western genre felt empty without him. At number 6, we have Mel Brooks as Governor William J. Lepetamine, the spectacularly incompetent, enthusiastically distracted leader whose scenes prove that the director running all this chaos simply couldn't himself resist right in the middle of it. Born Melvin Kaminsky, he was 47 during production and brought the governor to life with the gleeful joy of someone who wrote the part just to have as much fun as possible, while everyone else did the actual heavy lifting. He turned 99 in 2026, making him one of the oldest living legends from that classic saga of Hollywood. A long life that has allowed him to watch Blazing Saddles become a film school staple and cultural landmark over 5 decades. His first marriage to Florence Baum ended in 1961, and he married actress Anne Bancroft in 64, a partnership that became one of Hollywood's most beloved until her passing in 2005. His son Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z, is the most famous part of a creative legacy spanning generations. His rare EGOT status shows off a career that refused to be boxed into just one medium. At number 7 is Alex Karras as the impossibly massive, cheerfully destructive hired muscle whose total disregard for logic gave us some of the movie's summoning lines, while his physical presence, every scene, unpredictable. At 38 years old during filming, he didn't come from an acting background, but from 9 seasons playing defensive tackle for the Lions, a numful career that made him one of the most famous athletes around, before the cameras ever found him. His first marriage to Joan Jorgensen ended before he became a household name, and he later married actress Susan Clark in 1980, a loving bond that lasted until he passed, raising a blended family together. His biggest television role came as George Papadopoulos on the hit sitcom Webster, starring alongside Susan Clark from 1983 onward, a 7-season run that proved he had fully transitioned from athlete to actor. Alex Karras passed away on October 10, 2012 at 77 years old. At number 8 is Burton Gilliam as Lyle, the overly enthusiastic, deeply committed ranch hand whose hilarious opening scenes set up the exact brand of ignorance this movie ain't tearing apart. Born in Texas in 1936, he is 89 today, making him one of the oldest living cast members. And he brought a real authenticity to the role from the same, well, Slim Pickens drew from genuine, deep roots Western background that no acting class could ever fully replicate. Detriment was not some performance choice, it was simply how he talked. And director Mel Brooks, exactly how that kind of authenticity levels up a scene working multiple comedic wavelengths at once. In the decades after Blazing Saddles, his career spanned countless film and TV gigs that acting same-level qualities. His rugged regional physicality and a blunt directness that casting agents kept coming back to for all kinds of roles throughout his long career, while keeping his personal life almost entire live. For part 2, at number 9, we have David Huddleston as Olson Johnson, the self-appointed Rockridge spokesman whose massive ego made every single town hall feel like the nobles flighty on that did too. He was around 43 during filming, working steadily across TV and movies in everything from classic westerns to comic and dramas for 5 decades. He never had that one defining role, not until 1998, when the Big Lebowski made him the title character. A wealthy eccentric whose quiet authority was totally different from Olson Johnson, yet still required confidence to work. The Coen brothers obviously saw the exact same spark Milks did 24 years earlier. He married Sarah Capa, and the couple went on to have kids. While he kept his family life far away from the Hollywood scene, his professional work kept him busy. David Huddleston passed away on August 10, 2016, at 85, leaving a massive body that truly rewards one who dives deep. At number 10, we have Madeleine Kahn as Lily von Schutup, a tired, incredibly funny German showgirl whose sultry musical act and classic scenes with Cleavon Little delivered one of the absolute standout performances in the entire movie, earning her an Oscar nod that still stands as one of the most well-deserved in the supporting actress category. Just 29 during filming, she was already making waves with Paper Moon that same year, proving herself to be one of comedy's most exciting new talents. Her back-to-back Oscar nominations for Paper Moon and Blazing Saddles proved she was the real deal. Young Frankenstein dropped that very same year. 1974 was a level of creative success never seen in a lifetime. She never married or had kids, keeping her personal life completely out of the spotlight, while her professional life brought endless love and respect from both fans and co-stars. Madeleine Kahn died of ovarian cancer on December 3, 1999, at 79, a heavy loss that the comedy world never truly got over. At number 11, John Hillerman as Howard Jowson, one of the local townspeople whose sharp, precise delivery gave the Wild Rock Ridge cast its most dignified presence. His screen time in Blazing Saddles was just an early stepping stone in a career that would eventually bring him massive fame. In a completely different kind of part, he was around 41 during production, and his signature role arrived nearly a decade later as G. Clegans the Third Manum P., a character he played for 8 seasons, starting in 1980, all the way to 1988, winning an Emmy for his incredible work as a Texas-born actor. Her actor, accent and attitude across hundreds of episodes without ever slipping up once. He never married and kept his private life completely out of the headlines throughout his entire career, a level of privacy he guarded fiercely, no matter how famous his work made him. John Hillerman passed away on November 9, 2017, at 84. At number 12, we have Liam Dunn as Reverend Johnson, the shocked preacher Ancher, whose mounting and local language during his incredibly colorful sermon made him one of the most reliable laughs throughout the entire town sequence. Around 56 during filming, he brought the sharp instincts of a seasoned character actor to a role that demanded perfect calming, a material razor and between lighting and parody and pure disrespect. And he never once stumbled. After decades of working in television and film, Mel Brooks recognized his talent and clearly valued what brought to the set, casting him again in Young Frankenstein that same year, playing the blind man who guides the monster toward Wrong Bridge. He kept a very low profile, leaving behind almost no public records about his personal life. During year, Liam Dunn passed away on April 5, 1976, at around 59, just 2 years after releasing his most famous film. At number 13, we have Charles Misshagrigger as Charlie, a gang member who helped make the movie's villains look so hilariously useless that watching them totally earned and incredibly satisfying. Around 47 during filming, he joined the cast right after his standout role in the blaxploitation movie Superfeed Teenage Sui of Than Just, where his supporting performance gave the background of that film the gritty, realistic texture. Really, going from a 1972 Harlem crime drama to a 1974 Mel Brooks, a California backlot shows the kind of raw versatility that character actors of their generation in survival. Not by design, they took whatever the industry threw at them, using pure professional flexibility to survive through predictable work. Off camera, he kept his personal life completely under wraps during his active years. Charles McGregor passed away on March 1, 1995, leaving behind a filmography that deserves our attention than it has really gotten in the decades since. At number 14, we have George Firth as Van Johnson. He was another of Rock Ridge's perpetually outraged citizens, whose presence in the Johnson ensemble gave those scenes some extra comic density, and his massive contribution to American entertainment went far beyond what he ever did in front of a camera. He was around 41 during filming, but the work that brought him his biggest success happened entirely behind the scenes. As a gifted playwright, his collaborations with Stephen Sondheim created company in 1970 when Merry Roll Along 1981. Those massive hits secured his Broadway legacy, completely separate from his achievements as an actor. He never married, keeping his personal life almost totally out of the spotlight throughout his double career as both as a writer. George Firth passed away on August 11, 2008, at 75, leaving behind a theatrical legacy so lights up stages worldwide, decades after he wrote it. At number 15, we have Jack Starrett as Gabby Johnson, the totally incomprehensible town elder whose crazy rants nobody in Rock Ridge can actually understand, but his passionate delivery convinces everyone that whatever he just yelled was almost certainly important. Born Claude Enos Starrett Jr., he was about 37 during filming, working on both sides of the camera through his career. He directed raw action and biker films while simultaneously picking up acting gigs in movies. This double career showed a director's eye for building scenes, mixed with a performer's instincts for finding that exact human touch that makes a moment land, instead of just sitting there. He directed Run Angel Run and Cleopatra Jones. These grindhouse movies found their audiences through drive-ins and regional theater circuits. Right during the exact era Blazing Saddles was breaking box office records through conventional echo releases. His personal life stayed completely out of the news. Jack Starrett passed away on March 27, 1989, at 52 years old. At number 16, we have Robin Hilton as Miss Stain, the governor's incredibly sharp but totally underutilized secretary. Her scenes with Mel Brooks prove that the most dangerous person in the room is usually the one noting in charge is even watching. Only 29 during filming, she is 81 today. She is one of the last surviving members of a cast that has lost so many of its iconic faces since the movie debuted. With a solid background in modeling, she brought an effortless ease in front of the camera. The role did not demand much, just flawless comic timing and the rare ability to share a frame with Mel Brooks without getting up by his massive comedic presence. She took on a few more movie roles through the 1970s before quietly walking away from a move that kept her private life and the following decades almost entirely out of the public eye. What remains is just one iconic scene in one of the greatest American comedies ever made, with 52 years of new fans covering it for the very first time and finding it just as hilarious as the generation before them did.